Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. Very excited for today's episode. We have a crowdfunding expert, and he helps to validate your idea, launch the business to the market, and scale. So excited to be rocking out today with Samit Patel. Hey, Samit, are you ready to rock?
I am ready to rock, and thank you very much for having me on, Tim.
No problem. So we always start off here on a good note. So tell me a story of success in your business or your life that we can be inspired by.
Yeah, so I've been involved in raising over 43 million for various product launches to the market. I think, soon as I graduated university in 2009, I tried my hand at various different businesses from all sorts of industry, from travel to the hair and beauty space. And I failed miserably at each and every one of them. It literally took me until 2015 for me to literally say to myself, I'm never becoming an entrepreneur ever. I'm just going to go and get a normal job, for everything to be turned upside down and for me to be thrust back into running a business. I helped a campaign raise 1.6 million. And from then on, I had tons of people calling me up saying, hey, can you work with me? Can you work with me? And I literally told all of them, look, pay me 2,000 each and I'll work with you. And that's exactly what happened. So I pre-sold my services even before starting my agency. I had 10 people paying me 2,000 each. And then I was like, oh, wow, now I've got to actually go ahead and do all of this, right? So, and that's really where the agency started off.
Wow, that's a cool story. You can't run away. If you're an entrepreneur, it's going to cut you.
Yeah.
Right on. Cool. So now, along those paths, we tend to hit bad notes. We tend to make some mistakes. So I'm wondering, can you share with us like a mistake that you made along that path that we can avoid or we can recover from if it happens to us?
Yeah, so along that process, I made tons and tons of mistakes. I think from working in the amount of businesses and the amount of different industries I have, I've learned so much. And actually, it was the reason for my success in 2015. I did a deep dive into why I failed so miserably at so many different projects. And I said, okay, what keeps happening? What do I keep doing? And how can I avoid this in the future? And that's what I applied for that 1.6 million raise. So I broke it down into three things. One was a lack of research into the business that you're going to start with. So I'm one of those type of guys that literally jumps head first into something without actually thinking, okay, who are the competitors, thinking about who anyone else is. And I think this comes with age, because I was very young. I was very naive, thinking, you know what, I can do this. And especially because I came off running a really successful business during my college or university times. I was doing like nightclub promotions in London, and I was making $1,000 a week every week during my university. And that made me think to myself, I'm not going to go and get a job and then earn like $10 an hour. That's not what I'm going to do. So it really came from that point of being young and naive and thinking, I could just walk out into the world and start making money. So the first business I went into was the travel business. And the travel business is notoriously known as being so competitive and so advanced in technology that only porn is actually more advanced than the travel industry. If you think about the natural advertising that you do PPC, you do SEO, you do all of this stuff. And, these companies spend millions on all of these segments. So there's no real way for you to damage that environment. And literally, I thought to myself, okay, you know what? I know someone who owns a travel agency. I can partner up with them. I can set up this business without actually understanding how competitive it was, right? That I didn't really go in and go, okay, what's my USP? How am I going to differentiate my travel business? Why are people going to come to me? None of this was done. Secondly, it's about doing a pre-launch campaign to your actual launch. And what this means is that you can very easily validate an idea. So anytime you want to set up a new business, what you should be doing is validating it. So as soon as I have an idea, say for example, I want to create this brand new pen that's going to be able to write invisible ink. So that sounds like a great idea, right? So what I'd do is I'd create a landing page. I'd have a really nice headline, the amazing pen that rubs out with your thumb or whatever. And then you'd have a subheading, you'd have a nice clickbaity picture with it. And then you'd start driving traffic to it. And with advertising nowadays, you can very simply run Facebook ads to this, and you can start understanding whether people like it or not. That's a very simple example to give you, but it's actually something that a lot of us don't do. Whenever we're starting a business, we all start thinking about creating the logos. We start thinking about, is this on brand? Is this, we spend so much time wasting around that we actually don't get into just thinking about the core thing that's going to be the life and blood of your business. The life and blood of your business is what? Is sales, right? And how do you create that? You need a pipeline. You need to have warm leads. You need to have a community of people that are going to end up buying your product. So that's the number one thing, or number two thing that I realized. You always have to validate your idea, and then you always have to build a community around the idea. And that's those three things in essence are really ways in which you can make sure you succeed at your business going forward. If you validate it, if you prove that there's a customer out there that wants to buy it, and you prove this against the metrics and the numbers, because there's 7 billion people on this world. Like, if you could come out with a pile of dog dump and someone will probably buy that, right? But it's actually a case of how many units can you sell of that. Are you going to get enough people who are going to put their name down and go, hey, this sounds really interesting for me to go and buy that? Or are you just going to get drips and drabs? Sometimes people look at drips and drabs, they might get 1 or 2 people, and the cost to acquire that lead is like $10. And you're like thinking to yourself, okay, if my product is only $10 and I'm acquiring a lead for $10, the maths just doesn't make sense. So that's a very quick way of how you can validate and understand and build up that community. And these are the things that really I learned along the ways.
Wow. There's so much to unpack there. First thing is, you really took a step back and tried to figure out what was going wrong in your business, which is right off the bat, most people don't actually ask questions on why they're not getting success. It's just a matter of like, quit and off we go, right? Rather than try to fix it. But what you said about, validating the idea is really, really cool, because I think it's what frustrates a lot of people who are watching other businesses succeed in their same area. They're like, that guy doesn't even have a product yet. And, look at what I have, and I have all this and this, and I've spent all this time on this thing, and this person's making sales. But, they're doing it right. They're going out there and they're validating the idea. Sure, they don't have the product yet, or they don't have anything to show you yet, but why bother creating a product that's not going to sell in the first place, right?
Yeah.
It just saves you a bunch of time by doing it that way. And I think that, like you say, people are focused on logos and websites and stuff like that, really all that stuff comes after, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's very, very good advice. I like that. I hope people are going to be listening to that. But now, when we talk about, like, I used to say practice makes perfect, but I don't know if it really ever makes perfect. I think it's more like practice makes progress. And so, how is it that you get really good at it at what you do then?
It is a case of, you are right to a degree, that you need to be constantly learning through experiences. But, with what we have nowadays, you can literally reverse engineer anything out there. Like, you can learn so much from your competitors. And that's what a lot of people don't do. And this comes back to the first point that I mentioned, understanding your competitive landscape, understanding who is there. And you could go through their website. You could see when they first set up. You could use a tool called Wayback Machine to actually see when they set up their website, what changes the website went through. If a company was set up in 2015 and now is 2021, right? You could probably see the changes that they've made. And obviously these companies are most likely A/B testing. They're basing things on experience of what's working. And if a company's been running that long, then something works, right? So I'm not going to go, okay, what do I need to do that is going to be, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. All I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the format of the 2021 website that these guys have set up, copy that, maybe add some changes to that, and that's it. That's my baseline. Same thing with the ads. You can go onto Facebook and you can go to the ads tabs, and you can see the ads library, sorry, and you can see every single ad that this person has been running. You can also sign up to their mailing list so you can see what the onboarding process looks like. You can actually sign up for their service and see what happens. You can even jump on a call with them, and literally you've got the whole business plan, right? If you do that to all your competitors, you'll find out how much are they selling for, what their onboarding process is, what their websites look like. And also, with another tool, you can actually go through the backlinks. It's called Backlink Watch, and you can actually see where these businesses are all listed on. So they could be listed on a certain website that's generating them traffic, or they've had a certain article or a blog or a podcast that they've had that's generating them traffic. You do that same thing, and again, you've already cut down on what they're doing, right?
That is so sneaky. You're right, though. I mean, everything's online. So, I mean, yeah, you can literally, there's very little trade secrets these days. You can really look up anything.
That's it. There's so, like, I think nowadays we're in probably the best time ever to start a business, because everything is so transparent. Everything is online. Everything is, people are creating YouTube content every single day. People are creating Instagram, and they're giving their secrets out there. They're putting everything out there. So they're publishing books about how to do it. They create their own training courses on how to do it. So literally everything is out there, and it's so easy for you to now replicate what is going on. The only real thing that people are using to differentiate themselves is that personal branding. It depends what area it is, but it's that personal branding and maybe the company brand if it's a product or something like that. But that's the real key differentiator. And at the end, who can spend the most amount of money to acquire the most amount of leads that's turn into actual sales is the end winner, right?
Okay, well then, so now if we know that everything's out there, you can copy anybody you want, and there's tons of competition out there for pretty much any niche. How do you get fans? How do you get them to look at you rather than everybody else? Like, or do you even worry about that?
It depends what you're getting into. If it's marketing services, then I think there's enough piece of the pie almost to go around. Like, I don't think it's a saturated space. It's a case of what you want to go out there and do. You could go out to your local networking events, create friendships with them. You can go to your local restaurants and say, hey, look, I want to create your website for free. I just want to use it as a testimonial. Go out to 5 of them, create them a basic 1-pager. It doesn't even have to be so technical. Just get a review from them. Then you can go out and say, look, you specialize in restaurant marketing. And then you can build up based on that. And then once you get these 5 people coming through, you can then start creating ads around it, start generating more traffic. Think about what your customer needs. When I first started my agency in 2015, by absolute accident, may I add, I literally thought to myself, okay, what company should I call it under? Should I create a brand? Like before, when I ran all those unsuccessful companies, I created brands. I'd had like Social Media Alien and like various like stuff like that, which was a branded name. But then I thought to myself, okay, I see the competitors in this industry. I see, the 3 main problems I have with all of these is all of them are pretending to be like the Wizard of Oz. That there's some magical formula that's going in the back end. They're not very transparent. They're running ads through their own ad accounts, not my ad accounts, which is what I want to progress my brand, especially if I have a long-term vision for it. And there's no accountability, right? If something goes wrong, they're all hiding behind their structures, and you don't know who runs that business. So, whatever the company's called, they will hide behind that. So I thought to myself, okay, how can I build trust very quickly with my potential customer? And that's by using my face, right? So using your face, you are actually able to create trust. You're able to create some sort of connection between you and your potential customer. And by putting myself out there, calling the company Samit Patel, which was what my name is, it was like, okay, look, I'm very transparent. Here I am. I'm open to all whatever criticisms and you can see about me, it's all out there in front. And I started to unravel the whole industry. So I started pumping out so much content about every single thing that someone would be able to do in the crowdfunding space. It was so detailed that, you could literally start your own campaign. And not everyone's going to be able to use my services, because we only really look for campaigns of people that want to raise 50,000 and beyond. If people want to raise 50,000 or less, then we literally recommend to them to go out and try it and do it themselves. That's what we recommend to them. Like, there's no need for us to work with them. But that, people like our competitors couldn't catch up because we were pumping out so much content. They're like, oh wow, this guy is literally putting away all the trade secrets, and that got a lot of hate from the competitors. But it brought me a lot of customers. People saw how transparent we were. People believed that we were there to care about them, and that was the real differentiating point. So, if you're looking at the businesses out there right now, I would say use your personal brand to really distinguish you. This is a whole new USP. Before, you got taught about price differentiation, product differentiation, all these other things, but actually now you are the product. You are the company's best salesperson, and that's what your focus should be.
Yeah, yeah. No, I like what you're saying there, and in just about every industry, getting out there and helping people and giving out the trade secrets is a great way, because I mean, when you think about it, somebody who needs help, they're not going to try to figure it out on their own. They want an expert, and so if you're the one that going out there saying, here's how you do it, they're going to say, no, I'm not going to do it myself. You do it for me, and they're going to hire you, right?
Yeah, it's too complicated. It's like, I always like using this example. It's like building a house, right? You could potentially build your own house. Go on YouTube, look at all these YouTube videos. But it's gonna take you way longer to become the master of building your house. Two, it's gonna be really expensive because you're not gonna be able to get all the trade discounts and things like that. And three, the house is probably gonna fall down on you. So, these are the reasons I tell people when they're like, oh, why should we use you instead of doing it ourselves? And that's exactly what I tell them.
Yeah. I mean, how many times has somebody, I know I've gone on YouTube going, hey, this looks easy, and go try to do it. And it's totally different when you're actually in it and you're doing it. And especially something, in business, because you really don't want to mess that up. And, typically your expertise is something opposite to what you're actually hiring somebody for. So why would you bother start to, are you going to start that business now? Like, what, so,
Yeah.
So yeah, now, speaking of actually finding people to work with. So now every good rock star has a band. I mean, even if you're a solo artist, you're not going to be up there on stage completely on your own playing a cappella. So I'm wondering, how do you, find the people around you? How do you, how do you create your band, I guess?
Yeah, so from the very first day, we started using freelancers straight away. So it was a case of, okay, what's my mode of genius and what are things that I can almost outsource or get other people to do? So straight away, I was like, I started off getting back to the emails. I think when you're first starting off your business, you need to be getting involved in as much as you can, but also documenting it, right? Creating a playbook almost. So the type of email inquiries that are coming through, like what should someone respond to them be? If someone, you've always got to be thinking about, always removing yourself from the actual system or removing yourself from the process. And initially I didn't do that, and that was a mistake that I made. But after a while, you had to sort of go back, and this is one piece of advice that I'd give to everyone, and this is what I've been doing in all my new businesses. It's literally recording everything I do, making it into a playbook. I've got this almost like a Olympus. It allows me to press it and it just records while I'm doing something. So I just make a note of it, and straight away, we just turn that into notes. Or, I'm doing screenshots, or I create a Loom video straight away as soon as I'm doing something. But before, when I first started, I didn't really have that. But it's so important because I ended up going back to that and making that playbook, which was like, okay, how do you respond to inquiries coming in? How do you get them to book in for a meeting with me? So that was one of the first roles I actually ended up outsourcing. It was just someone to go through my emails. It was someone that's going to chase up just chase people up if they haven't got back to me for a very long time. We also used a lot of good software, automated follow-ups on emails. When you send out an email and someone hasn't come back to you, and then in like 3 days, it will send up an automated email. So all of these things. So it was a combination of using outsourced employees as well as tools. Like there's so many amazing tools now that literally is starting to remove humans at almost everything. And I love tools, so everything that we try and do is first, can we get a tool to do this? Second, can we get an employee to do this? Or what other benefit are we going to get with the employee doing this? So the things that I outsourced was that element, and also the element of looking for leads that are coming through. So, I set up a system. When I first looked at it, I was thinking to myself, okay, how do I find leads? And the same processes I went through, I found, any single time someone's going to be launching a business, they usually have that keyword up in their website. So it's almost like launching on Kickstarter. So we told people to look through that. We also told people to go through, various websites where they'll be listing on, places like Product Hunt. If they're a new business, they would be listing on that, trying to get upvotes. So all these places, and then my team would basically find that emails, put the contact, send out an outreach template, chase them up on Facebook, Instagram, wherever else they were, to try and get them to come to us. And that's literally what we've been doing. And also, when we had too many clients, rather than saying no, we would just hire particular experts. And it was really systemizing everything. So we broke down the system of emails. So we had a person that did the copywriting, because I didn't want to sit there writing all the copies. I had a person that was sitting there making the landing pages. I had a person that would be sitting there doing our PPC ads. Even though I can do it, we hired a team that would run our PPC AdWords. We had a team that would be running the SEO. So every single thing that I didn't really need to do, we hired someone to do as a freelancer. And I think that's really important. That's one thing that people actually tell you to do, well, once you get to 100K. But I started implementing that straight away, because I was like, if I want to build up this client base, and if I want to work on these projects, I also want the freedom to be able to do what I want to do. So from day one, I implemented it, and I'd be working on the strategy side. So a client would come to us and say, hey, launch this pen. I would work out the whole strategy. I would maintain the client relationship. I would be doing the business dev, which was the main sales, getting on a call with them. And that's all I did for the first 3 years.
Wow. That's so cool. Yeah. Obviously I want to support anybody who's hiring freelancers, because, that's really what's going to make this world go round. If we can support each other and everybody kind of has their own business and expertise, then, you kind of like get past that problem of, nobody will ever work harder for you than you will, but they will if it's their business, right? So if you're, supporting people that are building their own thing. But yeah, delegating is like, I think it's at least 8 out of 10 people that have been on this show that have said that is the one thing that they wish they had done earlier. And it sounds like you figured that out real quick. And so, I'm wondering, like, so the main motivation for you was that you want to get out of your business, but was there a hurdle that you had to cross in your mindset in order to hire somebody rather than just do it yourself? Like so many people who are entrepreneurs are perfectionists, and they want to do it themselves. So how do you get past that, if you were talking to me?
So I don't really have the mentality of being a perfectionist. My thing is rather it's done than perfected. So a lot of my stuff was put out rather than being perfect at it. Obviously for the clients, we do a bit more perfectionist work, but in terms of my stuff, it's just put it out there. Let's improve on it every single day, or improve on it as we go along. Even my very early website was so basic, like you'd think what the hell, right? But it worked. I think people get too sucked into making everything look amazingly well and then wasting so much time. I realized quickly that what was going to make me the money is clients. And if I kept the clients on, if I built up success with these clients, I would then be in a good position. And that success led me to be recommended by Kickstart and Indiegogo, which I am recommended by. I create these partnerships as well based on the success I had.
Okay. So now, and then that makes things a little bit easier because I think you're right. Like I'm more like that too. I'm done, put it out there, get it out there. It's because I find the more I try to perfect it, it never goes. I just end up in this loop of like, oh, well, I can fix this too. Oh, I can fix this too. So, if you're getting things out there, then I think that actually kind of fixes your mindset because now you're like, okay, well, if I hired somebody, they could do it better than I could because I'm just getting it out. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, for your clients, I mean, do you really just, for your own stuff, okay, you're the client, but for your client, do you really want to just kind of get it out the door, or do you want it to be, of high quality, right?
Yeah. So for our clients, we've put in the systems in place, right? So it's based on working on multiple clients and seeing what works, and then always having a template of what works and applying that. So it's like sales funnels, a good funnel that's going to work. And every single time you make changes to that funnel, that would be the new baseline. So we're not putting out crappy work in terms of that. Everything is going to be good on that side. But it's like stuff like, piece of content. If we're going to put out piece of content, early on, we were just putting out piece of content rather than getting it perfect in terms of, how it looks presented.
Mm-hmm.
But these are small things, it's like if you're just sitting there to perfect everything, and like as a business that's starting off, you've also got limited resources. You don't have the money to chuck around everywhere. So, you may want to work with, it's like you may want to work with the best builder that built like the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, but actually, you probably have to settle for someone that's based in California or wherever, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's you've got to do these small steps. So, every single time I'm looking at my resources, I'm looking at, okay, where can I get the best amount of return for the time being? And then, every so often I'd go, okay, now we can afford to step up and get something else in. So we're always thinking like that. And I think that's like a lot of people have that syndrome where it's like, I want to get things perfect and then put it out.
Yeah.
About the amount of times my website's gone through changes, and even when I thought, okay, this website's perfect and it's going to last me ages, we'd come back to it, and I do a lot of training courses. I have a lot of different mentors and coaches, and every single time, that there's always, they're talking about so many different funnels. So you're changing all of these constantly. You're working out what works, and you're basing on data. If the data shows that this new funnel's working, then you've got to go ahead and change it all across.
Yeah. And if you're putting out content, especially in the beginning, that is not, 100% perfect or super clear, well, that's okay, because then you're going to get questions back, and you're going to create a little bit of a dialogue even, which is exactly what you want in the first place. Someone says, hey, this wasn't perfectly clear. Now you've got somebody you can talk to, right?
I think that example is perfect for, videos. Like if you look at maybe some of my early videos on Instagram and social media, like they're not perfect at all. Like it's really dark. The video quality is really lame. But at the time, if someone was watching that, they still got the message across, right?
Yeah.
But right now, if you told people go and make a video, they'd have to go do their hair, they'd have to wear something fancy, they'd have to. There's a lot of like, I think that comes down to the person themselves as well, doubting themselves, and they'll shoot something, and then it'll be like, oh, I need to keep doing this. They'll end up spending a whole day on maybe a 30-second or 1-minute piece of content that isn't going to have that much impact. And it's the same thing. I worked with so many designers early on, and I'd pay a designer and they'd spend like 3 days on doing something very basic. And I'm like, look, for a social media post, I just want something out there. I don't need you to spend 3 days. If you tally that up, 100, like, they're probably charging what, $250 for a one post. It's not economical, because you're not going to get anything out of that one post, right? On your Instagram or shared on your Facebook, it's not going to really bring you much back.
Yep.
So, and this happens multiple companies. We've worked with multiple companies, big and small, and it's so slowed down because they spent overthink it when it doesn't need to be overthought.
Yeah, I agree. So now it's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business right now.
Yeah, so we've been doing product launches since 2015. Have helped raise over 43 million, and really people come to us as an expert in validating their business ideas, and that really comes from that passion of failing at so many businesses and me wanting to help people. My real goal is to inspire a million people by the end of this year. I've built up a really good base on Instagram, over 130,000 people on there, as well as Clubhouse, over 66,000 on there, just providing valuable insight on how people can avoid the mistakes and get more entrepreneurs out there. It's rather than give someone a fish, that saying, it's better to teach someone how to fish. And by teaching people the mistakes I made, the ones that led me to be unhappy in my life very early on and led me down a dark path, I want to help people avoid that so they can change their lives, they can improve what they're doing, they can help build wealth for themselves, and then they can help build wealth for others, because they're going to end up hiring freelancers and all of that. So if anyone out there needs help with crowdfunding, need help with validating their business ideas, or needs help scaling that business, I run an amazing agency, so feel free to reach out to me.
Love it. Let's create more entrepreneurs. Now, so how do we find out more about you then? Where do we go?
Yeah, so you can go to my personal website, samitpatel.net. You can go to our agency website, which is called jupio.com. You can follow me on all social media platforms. I am Samit Patel, and you can check out the show links that I'm sure Tim's going to add somewhere. Check those out. And if you have any problems, or if you just want to talk, feel free to reach out to me on socials. I do live videos on Instagram, going troubleshooting businesses every single time. So feel free to DM me, and I'm happy to look at things, what you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samit. This has been a lot of fun rocking out with you today.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me, Tim. Pleasure.
Right on. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.